Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted the number 1 would be Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, number 2 would be Kung Fu Panda 4, number 3 would be Dune Part 2, number 4 would be Immaculate, and number 5 would be Arthur the King. And I got 3 out of 5 of my predictions right for this weekend. Some of you guessed it correctly. Here are your shoutouts right now. Congrats. The thing that I assumed could have happened that I, for some reason, persuaded myself not to bet on, it happened. So, congrats to those of you who did go with that prediction. You got it right this weekend. Let's go over what happened in the overall top 10. To no surprise, number 1 was, of course, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Makes sense because last weekend there was a bit of a lull between big movies. Kung Fu Panda 4 came out the week before, and then last weekend it was just Arthur the King, really. So this one kind of coming out there, you know, no surprise it's going to be number 1, not much competition. What is kind of surprising when I was looking at the stats for it is that the weekend for this, Afterlife, and the 2016 remake are all kind of in the same boat here. So for this movie, it made $45 million for its 3-day opening weekend. For the franchise, it is the second highest opening. It is $1 million below, get this, the 2016 film's opening weekend of $46 million, and it's $1 million above Afterlife's. The first two Ghostbusters, the first one opened around $13 million, and then the second one was in the 20s, I think 26 or 29 million, somewhere around there. So obviously, time has passed since then. Newer fans, newer money coming in here. You know, it's obvious this is going to be higher than the first two films as far as the opening weekends, especially the love for the franchise. But it was genuinely kind of surprising to see just how similarly these weekends are. And I know some people, or at least I noticed it on my Twitter for you page, kind of pointing out like, man, they've made 2 Ghostbusters films to course correct from the box office bomb that was the 2016 one, but neither of them have had an opening weekend higher than it. And yeah, that is kind of interesting, isn't it? I think overall, though, in the long run, that movie cost a little bit more than Afterlife did to make, so compare the numbers. Afterlife had a profit compared to how much money they sunk into that 2016 remake that they didn't make back. I think we might be seeing a similar thing with Frozen Empire here in a bit. You know, not to predict because there's still a ways to go. Worldwide, it only adds to a total of 61 million right now, and the production budget is 100 million, so a little bit higher than the 75 million budget for Afterlife. So they need to get to at least 200 million to be considered a success for our standards, unless we hear otherwise as far as like what they needed money-wise. And luckily, when you look at the stats, the 2016 film grossed over 200 million worldwide, Afterlife grossed over 200 million worldwide, so there is a shot here that Frozen Empire could make that trek and be considered a success, double their current budget, you know, have a larger income than than Afterlife did, because Afterlife, it was a bit of a step down compared to what the 2016 remake made, because, you know, we were still kind of we were in that little area of 2021 where, you know, bigger movies were coming back out again. No Way Home wasn't out yet, but people were prepping for that. But people were testing the waters with some other films. And I guess you can also throw in the stipulation of, yeah, the 2016 film didn't really do much for people's idea of Ghostbusters, or even the discourse around that, or the continued discourse around Ghostbusters. Either way, this movie seems to be in a pretty solid spot right now, at the very least. For the franchise, it needs 67 million until it outgrosses Ghostbusters 2 domestically. Worldwide, it needs 142 million until it outgrosses Afterlife. So, you know, right now it's sitting at the lowest spot, but, you know, they're going to have time to build this. And hopefully Sony can prove that Ghostbusters is worth investing time and money into, despite what the Rotten Tomatoes score for the movie says right now. It's okay. I do wonder how the drop-off will be, because I feel like Kung Fu Panda 4 is like perfect strictly for families, and then Ghostbusters, maybe that could be the case because they are trying to gear more towards like a family-friendly audience, but Godzilla and Kong is literally next week, so Kung Fu Panda 4 at least had a little bit of a break between like the next big blockbuster to see. Ghostbusters is, you know, right in that weird spot. You know, this could go down like Dungeons and Dragons, where it opened up solidly for any other movie, maybe with a lower budget, and people were praying for like word of mouth or something, but right after Dungeons and Dragons was, I think, either John Wick or the Mario movie, one of those two, and then it just got buried. So maybe that'll be the case with Frozen Empire. We don't know how much it'll hold over because of that, and also the critical reception hasn't been great, but the fan response, you know, audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is in the 80s last time I checked, so Who fucking knows? I don't want to talk about Ghostbusters anymore. Talking about Ghostbusters online is scary. You can't do it. You can't do it. Number 2 is Dune Part 2. Yes, last weekend I said it was a possibility, considering how it looked like Dune was holding over better than Kung Fu Panda 4, that it could overtake it, but for some reason my dumbass didn't predict it to get to number 2. This weekend it made $17 million, adding to a domestic total of $233 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at $574 million, and it is $4 million over the triple point for its $190 million initial production budget. So Dune Part 2 has officially tripled its budget. That is fucking fantastic. I think I've already sung this movie's praises on this show quite a few times now, and I don't really have much more to add. It's already Denis Villeneuve's highest grossing film, so we don't need to talk more about that. It's outgrossed the other Dune films, so I just really don't have much more to add, so let's just dive on into number 3, which I thought would be number 2, Kung Fu Panda 4. But the thing is, though, is that despite it slipping behind Dune, it's still holding over. Like, it only dropped another, like, 40% or so from last weekend, so people are still interested in seeing Kung Fu Panda 4. You know, it made $16 million this weekend, so once again, not too far off from where Dune is, similar to last weekend when it was ahead. So that adds to a domestic total of $133 million. It is still yet to outgross any of the other Kung Fu Panda films, but I think next weekend we will be seeing that because it only needs $10 million until it outgrosses 3 domestically. Worldwide, it is sitting at $268 million. So yeah, a little bit of a boost last time we saw it. It now needs $238 million until it outgrosses 3. So domestically, it's right around the corner from outgrossing one of the other films. Worldwide, we still have a little ways to go. This one will probably, you know, despite it having, I think, the second best highest opening weekend when it premiered, it might go down as one of the lower grossing ones. Like, I mean, there's only 4 of these movies now, so maybe it'll just get to a number 3 spot for the rankings here, but still, I mean, it's making money, you know what I mean, on a budget of $85 million. Now they're sitting at $268. Yeah, that's pretty damn good. Like, it's already tripled, but it's gotten over $255 million, which is the triple point for the $85 million initial production budget. So it's good, you know. Good on you. Let's move on to number 4, which is Immaculate. And I was hoping last week, and I was like, man, I would really love it if it was this big surprise hit of the year. And even though it didn't make like a whole lot of money, the stats for it, you know, are pretty damn good. So let's just dive on into it. Getting into number 4, made $5 million this weekend. This is on a budget of $9 million. So that is a pretty solid opening for it. Word of mouth has been kind of interesting because you have horror fans that are like, it's pretty gnarly, it's really fun, you should go see it if you're a horror fan, blah, blah, blah. And then you have something that was really funny that I saw on Twitter where like a Christian tweeter tweeted out something that was like this, what they thought is like this harsh denouncement of the movie, and then Neon took that tweet and made it into a poster as word of mouth. So which is pretty damn smart, you know what I mean? That's pretty smart. So I think there might be a good solid word of mouth continuing to spread here for this movie. There's no worldwide total yet to see if it has gotten any closer to doubling that budget, but I feel like even then domestically we might have a shot here to make more money, you know what I mean? And especially for Neon, the distributor for this film, it is their highest wide release opening weekend. So right now, it still has plenty of other movies to outgross as far as their overall domestic runs. But the thing about Neon is that they haven't really had like this mainstream big hit. And a lot of their movies, when they initially release, they go limited. So they open up in the 100,000s. This is like a wide release film, and it's their highest wide release for their first weekend. That is pretty spectacular. That Immaculate is kind of making waves right now. And also for Neon, it is in their top 7 highest grossing films already. It is 100,000 over Infinity Pool from last year, and it's only sitting behind Spencer by $2 million. So pretty soon we'll be seeing this one crack the top 5. So even if it even if it doesn't go on to have this insane word of mouth like I'm predicting, and I'm not even predicting like an insane word of mouth, it'll still kind of go down in history for at least the distributor, and as far as like the horror fans that will continue to talk about it later on. It's just really smart moves going on here, you know what I mean? When you read more about how Sydney Sweeney kind of brought this project back to life, you know, and all the like business moves she's been talking about lately, it's like she's really damn smart. She really is going to be like, you know, the face for the next generation of actors in a way, you know. That's pretty great. Can't wait to see what she does next. At number 5, we have Arthur the King making $4 million, adding to a domestic total of $14 million. There's still no worldwide total, so I'm not sure if they're going to get close to doubling that $19 million initial production budget or not. My gut is telling me it won't. And that number 6 is way more interesting to talk about, so let's move on to number 6, which is Late Night with the Devil. Now, this is an indie film that was acquired by IFC, and Shudder. It's going to be on Shudder at some point. And I didn't even really expect this movie to make big waves or anything, and, you know, it didn't get into the top 5, but it got damn close, which is already pretty good. But also, similar to Immaculate, for IFC, this is their highest opening weekend for a wide release, for a debut. It's the same exact situation where IFC has not really had like a big mainstream hit. A lot of their higher grossing films, their initial opening weekends are in the 100,000s. So for this movie to make history similar to Neon on the same weekend, and they're both horror films, you know, that shit, it's kind of crazy. And another funny coincidence about Late Night with the Devil, it's estimated right now, we don't have the official numbers, but right now it's estimated that on Sunday, today, it's going to make $666,666. So that's 2 pairs of 666s, which is, it's, you know, the numbers aren't official yet, so who knows, but that is pretty damn funny that it's looking like that just from the estimates. It made $2.83 million this weekend, though, for the whole weekend, by the way. I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is, but also, as I mentioned, it is an indie film, so it's probably not too high. But another instance similar to Immaculate, it doesn't even need to make that much more. It's already kind of going down in history, and I think there will be a little bit of a boost just because of word of mouth, and I do think there will be a little bit of a boost just because there is solid word of mouth for this movie, people having a lot of fun with this, horror fans enjoying the hell out of it. And yes, there was a bit of a controversy surrounding some AI images that they used, and, you know, there's a whole other conversation to be had about, you know, how to use AI as a tool versus using it to replace other people's jobs. For the people who are, like, going on the extreme end of, like, I'm boycotting this movie for it, I don't think this is the movie you want to, like, boycott over, you know what I mean? It's you know, and when you see the movie, too, it's like, I noticed it because I was aware of, like, the discourse on Twitter beforehand. I don't know how many other people would have, though, and it's also so quick, you know. If you're going to boycott something, you probably should have boycotted Secret Invasion first before boycotting an indie that is already trying so hard to, you know, make a name for themselves. Not to say that, you know, I'm condoning them using them in the first place. I would not have if I was in their position. I would not have used AI. But still, it's like, God, boycotters are so weird sometimes. Either way, I think there is a solid word of mouth here, despite that other controversy that people may give it another shot next weekend. So we will see. This is pretty damn cool, though, for this movie. Number 7 is Imaginary, making $2.80 million, adding to a domestic total of $23 million. For Jeff Wadlow, it is still behind Never Back Down, this time by $1 million. So it's gotten closer, but like we've been kind of talking about, it's not even making more money than the, like, notoriously bad Jeff Wadlow movies that people kind of wrote off right away. Worldwide, it is sitting at $28 million, so a little bit more of a boost. It is $11 million behind Never Back Down there. I don't know if we talked about this last weekend. It did double its $12 million budget. It's now $4 million over that. It would need $8 million now to triple that budget, get to $36 million. Maybe it will. I mean, it's really slowing down, though. There's really no momentum behind this. Like I said, people are probably more interested in seeing Late Night with the Devil or Immaculate. So, and also Godzilla and Kong is next weekend, that too. Let's move on to number 8, which is Love Lies Bleeding, making $1.5 million, adding to a domestic total of $5 million. I'm still not sure what the budget of this thing is. It is A24, though, so the budget might be a little low. I'm not sure, but hey, you know, some people saw it, and some people will continue to talk about how fucking batshit it gets. And not to say the whole movie is batshit. It's just the few key parts. And I recommend it. I still recommend it. Still a very good movie. You should go check it out. Number 9 is Cabrini, making $1.4 million, adding to a domestic total of $16 million for the director. It is still behind Sound of Freedom by $168 million. I don't even know why I'm being so petty and talking about the slow countdown of a goal it will never achieve. Maybe I should just move on. Let's close out the video with number 10, Bob Marley, One Love. The last time it's probably going to be here, making $1.1 million, adding to a domestic total of $95 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 173. So it may not have gotten to the tripling point of its initial production budget, but, you know, it made some waves. It kicked Madam Web's ass. And that's all that's important, you know? That's all that really matters in this case. Now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. I'm predicting a pretty easy weekend unless something upsets it. We'll see. But number 1, I think, will be Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire. Number 2, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. Oh, you know what? I legit did not even realize that until I read it out loud, that there's 2 Empire movies. That's crazy. Anyways, 3 I think will be Dune Part 2, 4 Kung Fu Panda 4, and number 5 Immaculate. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.